Ayato havers and enjoyers, welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to talk all about the team comps that I've been having a lot of fun with. Ayato's been out for about a week now, and I've been labbing him pretty much non-stop since I got him. So I just want to go ahead and talk about some of my favorite teams and also break down the rotations and why the teams work and why I really enjoy them overall. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It goes a long way in helping out the growth of this channel. And if you've been subbed for a while, like I know I really haven't been coming out with too many videos recently. Just as a little bit of a life update, I started a new job a couple months ago, and that's really taken up a lot of my time. And then a couple weeks ago, I actually got COVID too. So because of all of those factors, I've just been really slow with editing and just haven't had the motivation. But now that Ayato is here, I gotta say my enjoyment for creating content specifically around a character has gone way up. But let's just go ahead and get right into the video. I'm gonna have a breakdown of each one of these teams and the builds aren't going to change throughout the video. So if I reuse any of the characters and different comps, they all have the same builds throughout. It's not gonna change. So let's go ahead and jump into the first team I have here. Now this team I'm calling the Never Ending Waves, and I posted a gameplay video about them I think last week when I first started out, because yeah, this was my day one team that I found a lot of fun with. Now I call this the Never Ending Wave team because really how all of their cooldowns work, it just really feels like it's never ending when it comes to being able to hit skills and bursts. If you can get the hang down of this team and how it rotates, you really shouldn't have any problems when it comes to energy and being able to spam bursts pretty much with every character once the rotation starts over. So we have the Geo Resonance, Zhongli for a shield, we have Yunjin, so that way we can give a buff to Ayato with the normal attacks as well. And then we have an Animo unit. I'm using Kazuha because I found the most success with him overall. Also because I'm just used to playing him, but I know there's a lot of people who only started in 2.0, so they don't have him. And since Venti is currently on banner, he works perfectly well as a flexible spot here, as well as Sucrose too. My Sucrose isn't really even built, but it was really down to seconds in terms of the difference in terms of clear time when it came to using Sucrose instead of Kazuha. But let's just go ahead and look at the builds really quickly, starting with Ayato because he's the main focus of this team. We have Ayato here. My crit ratio is 76 to 233. Pretty happy about that. I am rocking his signature weapon. I will say if you have Jade Cutter, it's almost just as good. If you don't have one of these weapons, the Battle Pass weapon, which is the Black Sword, works really well. I have also heard really good things about the Aminoma Kageyuchi because this would help his burst if you do have problems with his energy. And I gotta say, this has to be one of the best looking weapons that he can hold overall. Aesthetic impact, this is the one. I don't really know about the Black Cliff Sword all too much. I haven't done any testing myself, but I would imagine it works well because of the crit damage. And with the current focus of Abyss being more so mob focused rather than like boss heavy like it's been in the past couple of rotations, I could imagine being able to stack some of this passive actually pretty well. So those are some other options if you don't have his weapon. In terms of artifacts here, I'm running a 4-piece Gladiator. I'm gonna quickly cycle through these. If you wanna go ahead and pause and see them, please go ahead and do that. Constellation is 0, and then talents are 1, 10, and 10. So day one, I did save up enough material so that way I could crown both his E and his Q. I thought about crowning his normal attack too, but it doesn't really matter. If you don't know, when he's in his E state and you're doing the normal attacks, they do count as normal attack damage, but it's a whole entire different multiplier when it comes to it. So there's no real reason to level up the normal attack unless you want to be doing some physical damage as well. Looking at Zhongli here. Now my Zhongli, I've done plenty of videos on in the past. So if you want to check that out on my channel, you can go ahead and see some of those videos. My Zhongli is made for burst damage. And I know there's a ton of theory crafters out there that say using the burst is actually a DPS loss because of how long the animation is, blah, blah, blah. I don't really care for myself because it's one of my favorite animations in the game. Zhongli is my favorite character in the game and I want to see that animation. So this is what I currently have built out for him. 61 to 207. He's rocking a Staff of Homa because it's only the best for him. I have a 2-piece Noblesse and a 2-piece Tenacity. Here's the pieces if you want to go ahead and pause if you need to. And then Constellation is C5. Now I will say for this comp, overall, that C2 is going to actually be pretty helpful when it comes to the rotation when I break it down. Now, I imagine I've been thinking for a bit that C0 is probably fine. I just haven't tested it for myself yet. Now, he is Triple Crown because like I said, I do love him. So this is the sub DPS or burst DPS on the team. Okay, so for an Animo unit, like I said, is very flexible, but I'm using Kazuha here. Now my Kazuha has 563 elemental mastery. The ratio is 70 to 94. We are running the Favonius Sword, and in terms of artifacts, it's a 4-piece Viridescent set. Elemental Mastery Sands, Elemental Mastery Goblet, but a crit rate helm because I have just not been able to get a Viridescent on set goblet or helm that is Elemental Mastery, unfortunately. Now I would usually do that, but because I'm running crit rate, it's actually really helpful. Because of the passive of Favonius Sword, I get particles every time I hit a crit, and now I have a pretty high crit ratio, so that way I can mostly get these particles whenever I do one of his E skills or attack with his Q, etc. He's another triple crown because I love this character, and probably Ayato is going to get the same amount of love as both Zhongli and Kazuha soon. We are on C0. Now finally we have Yunjin here, and she's going to be buffing Ayato's normal attacks. She is not leveled, she's only 50 out of 60, so I don't even have her last talent, which actually would increase Ayato's normal attacks even further based on this. So I don't even have that up yet, and so I still have a lot of potential and room to grow when it comes to my Ayato. Now Yunjin, 50 to 112. The 50% is great because I have Favonius Lance. It is only a level 1. I'm not using her for damage. I'm not using her for damage at all. I wish this was an R5, but it's fine. Crit hits have a 90% chance. It's still really good. Then we have a 4-piece husk on here. Here are the pieces. I'm doing energy recharge sands, a defense goblet, and then a crit rate helm. In a perfect world, it would be defense, defense, defense if I had enough crit, but that's what it is for now. This is a set that she actually shares with Goro, but if I'm not running him, then I just move this set over to her because I don't feel like farming more of this set right now. She is C6. C6 is incredible because it actually gives an additional attack speed, so we're going to be hitting more slashes with Ayato when he's in his E state. Talents really low at 1, 4, and 5. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this rotation with Zhongli. What'll happen is I'll put down one of his pillars with E, and then I'm going to go ahead and swap to Ayato. Then I'm going to hit his Q, so his elemental burst, because when he's off the field, it's going to regen some particles or some energy for him, just for him being off the field. So I want to go ahead and hit that immediately. By the time that's done, I can swap back to Zhongli. Well, so actually I accidentally hit it. So I'm gonna go ahead and swap to Zhongli, and then what I can do from here is I can hit his meteor down and then press his E again. I don't know what that number was and what it hit, but I can press down his E again after that, because if I do this quick enough, I'm gonna time it perfectly with all of the cooldowns. Then from there, because Ayato's burst would still be going off, but I've been talking, I'm gonna go ahead and go into Kazuha, and I'm gonna go ahead and swirl up enemies, and then I'm gonna hit his Q also just for extra damage. Then we're gonna go Yunjin, and we're gonna do her Q and E, or you can do the other way. Then I'm gonna go into Ayato, hit his E, and we're just gonna go ahead and go to town. And then we're gonna restart that cycle. Once he's done, Yunjin will actually have her cooldown ready for her skill. So I can go into Yunjin, back to Zhongli, his skill will be ready, Kazuha's skill will be ready, Ayato's Q will also be ready in there. It's just a never-ending flow if you can just generate the particles and switch out. And I know this sounds a little bit confusing, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you what it looks like into practice right here.
震天撼地，安息天动万象。云野，夜明。周瑜，看枪，听我号令。迷奸不止。周瑜，还是天理长驱，壁立千风动鱼行。往返自然，
戮力同心，看枪！
神力流，水用此乃天道。幽灵，上也御风而行，可叹落叶飘。
听我号令！
对象选错了，迷奸不摧。
Okay, next team that I have up is an Ayato Freeze team. This one I'm calling Unlimited Blade Works, and I actually get this name from one of my favorite Genshin TikTokers, Cryokillua. Over on TikTok, I'll make sure to have his link for his TikTok in the bio below. He usually runs Chongyun. He's a Chongyun main that has inspired me a ton, and I use a lot of the comps and builds that he uses. And so this is kind of a variation on one of the ones that he's kind of created over there. So same build with Ayato, and we're gonna use Rosaria and Xingqiu now as some some supports. Rosaria here going into her build, she has 71 to 74, so nothing crazy when it comes to damage, but the 71 crit rate is the big deal, and I'll get into it why here in a second. She's running Favonius Lance. This one's R5, level 70, which is perfectly fine, and I'm running a 4-piece Noblesse, so that way I can get a buff for the entire team after she uses her burst. Now her constellation is C6, her big one is C2. The rest of them don't really matter at all. C2 is the big one because you get an extra 4 seconds on her burst, which is huge when it comes to being able to permafreeze. She is 1, 8, and 10, and then here are her artifacts, actually, because I forgot to look at them. If you want to go ahead and pause, energy recharge, cryo damage, and crit rate. Really focusing on crit rate, specifically because of this Ascension passive right here. When Rosaria strikes an opponent from behind with Ravaging Confession, which is her E, her crit rate goes up by 12%, but then also when you cast her Q, this increases the crit rate of the entire team by 15% of her crit rate for 10 seconds. So I'm getting 15% of 71. So I'm essentially getting like 10% more crit rate for the team. That's going to boost my Ayato to 85 crit rate, right? So because of that, I'm not missing crits with this team, and they're permanently frozen. It's going to do a ton of damage. And then we have Xingqiu in here also. His ratio is at 71 to 120. Energy recharge is 161. He is C6, so I don't need too much energy recharge, thankfully. Sack Sword, R5, level 90. 2 Noblesse and 2 Heart of Depth. In a perfect world, I would be running a 4-piece Emblem of Severed Fate, but I don't really have as good of a set when it comes to that for him. So here are the pieces: attack percentage, hydro damage bonus, and crit rates. Constellation is 6. Talents levels are 5, 9, and 11. So the main rotation for this is Ayato is going to start with his Q, with his burst, so that way we can start getting the hydro applied. We're going to swap to Kazuha, swirl that up with the E and Q. Then I'm going to go ahead and go to Xingqiu. We're going to have his water swords ready, and then Rosaria is going to do an E and Q to freeze enemies, and then Ayato, we're just going to go ahead and attack with his normals and his E. And as you can see, not only his slashes, but we're getting Xingqiu's blades hitting at the same time. Now, I will say this team isn't actually perfectly set up because it's nice to have Xingqiu on another team, especially if you run Hu Tao, a Raiden National, really any version of a National usually too, really wants him. So this does get a little bit costly because you're taking 2 really great Hydro units who you want for reactions potentially on another team. But I like this team a lot overall. So I'm gonna go ahead and play the footage right here so that way you can see it in action.
朔风解印，可叹落叶。
知识成景，乱财。审判，站立吧。
残流水影。御风而行，风共鱼行，秋水3尺。
制裁，固化生命。
朔风解印，可叹落叶飘。
审判，人，站立吧。
剑影。
This is going to be the last team I showcase for now. I actually have like 4 other teams that I've recorded, but I'm noticing that this video is going to go ahead and be a lot longer than I expected it to be. So I'll probably do a part 2 for this video with more comps if you guys want to go ahead and see it. So the last one here is an international team. This team is usually slotted in with Child instead of Ayato, which I do have, and I do actually really like Child. And I'm not gonna lie, I think I prefer Child in this team more than Ayato, but with my test, this was the fastest clear team I did when it came to any of the teams I tried out. So what we have here is Ayato and Kazuha again, but we have Bennett here. Bennett is level 80 out of 80. He's here to buff the team and also give some healing when needed. Now, if I wanted a bigger buff, I should take him to 90, but this is perfectly fine enough for him. 54, 123, nothing crazy. We have the Kilo Favonia, which is a great weapon for him because of the super high base attack, and he gives a buff based on his base attack. There's plenty of other options to run for him. Just run whatever has your highest base attack or an energy recharge weapon if you have energy problems for him. Artifact set is a 4-piece Noblesse here. Just gonna go ahead and click through the pieces: energy recharge, pyro damage, crit rate, nothing crazy. And then C5, I do actually plan to C6 him because I actually don't feel like C6 is that big of a deal. I'll probably end up doing it sooner than later. I'm just kind of waiting on a moment when I feel like I really want to test a certain thing out. Talent levels 1, 7, and 11. And then we have Xiangling in here. As you know, is an incredible character. And I only have her at level 70 out of 70. Ratio is nothing crazy, 55 to 110, 189 energy recharge. She is kind of energy hungry. I'm rocking an R5 Wavebreaker's Fin, which is a great weapon for her. If you have the catch, that also is up there too. And then I have a 4-piece emblem for her. Here are the pieces: energy recharge, pyro, and crit rate. And then she is C6 and her talents are 1, 4, and 9. Now I'm sure a lot of y'all are familiar with national team rotations, but if you're not, what's gonna happen is we're just gonna go ahead and set down a Q with Benny, then we're gonna switch to Ayato and do his Q because his Q actually snapshots, meaning the buff that we get from Bennett is going to be applied throughout the duration of his burst. Then we're gonna go ahead and go into Kazuha after that. We're gonna swirl up a ton of pyro with his E and his Q. Then Xiangling, E and Q, get that Pyronado going. And then we're back into Ayato and we're just gonna go ahead and vaporize as much as possible. And here's the showcase and what it looks like when you actually put it all together.
神力流，水右，御风而行，风步离行，
见识下师傅的枪法，哥们，跟我。
残留水影，朔风起义，
该走空狙了。
夜明，安息，
哎，讲不通就打扁了。
巨影，
有大家在身边。
风共游行。
So now there's one last tech I just want to show y'all with Ayato. It's not 100% feasible unless you have a ton of practice. I did this in one of the sides of Abyss and I'll show that clip here in a second. But Ayato does have a really broken tech called a dash cancel. And what this dash cancel does is that Ayato, when he does his E, you usually get 15 hits, sometimes like 16. But now you can get up to 18, sometimes 20 without any speed boosting. So what we need to do is actually have an object in front of us. Okay, so there's this rock right here. And what's gonna happen is I'm gonna hit the E and I'm gonna go up to it and I can do the slashes. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go ahead and smash, like literally spam W, which is to go forward, and I'm gonna spam my right click, which is my dash. So whatever it is, if you're on mobile, if you're on controller or anything like that, you just need to be tapping forward. So either like on your phone, or I guess with the left stick if you're on controller, like tapping forward and tapping also whatever your dash button is, and you're just gonna go ahead and spam that while you're doing it. So basically what that looks like is this. I'm gonna go up to it and start slashing, and then I'm gonna go ahead and start spamming it. And you see how he like glitches out a little bit? You can kind of hear it too. I'll do it a little bit more cleaner here in a second. Okay, here we go.
残留水影，
So you can see he like kind of like glitches out. That's the dash cancel. It's actually a pretty cool tech. It's not insanely viable, and especially when it comes to Abyss, because you're not gonna have rocks and terrain. But one thing you can do is you can put Zhongli's pillar up and you can actually pull this off. So you can go ahead and dash cancel with the pillar there. Now, I will say this gets pretty tough because you can see he even like glitched out a little bit there, even though he wasn't in the state. Now, it does get actually kind of tricky sometimes because Ayato does kind of like auto hone into enemies. So you could be going straight towards the pillar, but there's an enemy off to the side to you. He might actually focus on that enemy and not be able to dash cancel. And then it's also kind of hard to set up. I did do it one time in a run in Abyss. It's not super optimal, but I'm just gonna go ahead and share that footage here.
迷津步，秋水3尺，此乃天道。
站立吧，一鼓作气。
苍流水影，
And it actually kills him pretty quickly, but also this whole entire side is a joke. And as you can see, I kind of had to dash away with Zhongli, dash into it with Ayato. It's a kind of a waste of time in there when I could just have been doing damage overall. but I think it overall looks pretty slick. So that's gonna go ahead and do it for this video when it comes to team comps for Ayato. I legitimately have like 4 other teams that I tested out and have runs and clears for, so I'll probably be making a part 2. Let me know some comps in the comments below if you want me to try them out for future videos as well. And if you want to see these things happen in real time, go ahead and give me a follow at twitch.tv/RichardOriginal. Come out to one of our streams. I stream 3 times per week, usually Monday, Tuesday, and then either Wednesday or Thursday. So that's gonna go ahead and do it for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure to give me a like, leave a comment. What are teams that you're running with Ayato? I really want to know because I just love testing out different teams with this guy. Thanks so much for watching. Please make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.